Hi, this is Debbie from Organic Oasis in Northern California, Zone 9B. Well, if you grow zucchini, you probably are wondering what to do with all of the zucchinis that you're harvesting. Just like me, we have three that I'm trying to use up. But I also have some sourdough discard. I'll be feeding this today. This is my sourdough from 2024. And I have another jar of discard in the refrigerator. And so this recipe is making sourdough discard zucchini bread. And it's from the Perfect Loaf, not the cookbook. There is a recipe in the cookbook, which I love the cookbook, highly recommend it. But also there's a recipe online and I will link to it. His recipes are wonderful. And the banana bread that he has in there that you can turn into a zucchini bread is delicious, wonderful, the best I've ever made when it comes to banana bread. So we're going to make the zucchini bread now, component of it, and we can add chocolate chips, and it should be delicious. So let's get cooking. The first thing I'm going to do is feed my starter and get the discard out of here to use in this recipe. So the way that I do my starter is I just take out 5 grams, just 5 grams. It's just really a little tiny amount of starter that I use. It's just to keep it going. If I need to actually bake with a sourdough starter, I will make a levain. If you're a sourdough person, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just keeping this going. So I have my 5 grams of my sourdough starter, and I'm going to mix it with 50 grams of flour, just white flour, and 50 grams of water. Just makes a tiny amount just to keep it going. I've tried just keeping it in my refrigerator. I usually will put it in my refrigerator up to 2 weeks, and then I'll take it out, feed it, and then put it back in, and then put it back in the refrigerator. And that's kind of my routine. But I've had this starter now since March 2024, so about a year and a half, and it's still going strong. So I'm really happy with it. And now we're going to put some water in. Now I put in my 50 grams of water. Most of the time I put my discard into my compost bin. And here's my fed starter. I just stir it up now. And I'll either leave this on my counter and then I just feed it. But sometimes I'll put it away in the fridge for a couple of weeks and then take it back out again when I'm going to use it. Okay, so here it is. It's all done. Here it is. So just a small amount. And now I'm ready to move on to the recipe. I have a KitchenAid mixer, and what I like about this recipe is I do almost everything in my mixing bowl, my KitchenAid mixing bowl. And I use a scale and I weigh the ingredients and I do it right here. Then I will take it over to my KitchenAid, mix it, and then bring it back here and add more of the ingredients. So we're going to start with the wet ingredients first. Then we'll just add the dry ingredients, and we'll do the whole thing in just this one bowl. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have this cup, and we're going to put a half of a cup or 1 cube of butter, and I'm going to microwave it just to soften it a little bit. We're going to start with the butter and sugar. We're just going to add the butter and sugar. So it's 1 stick or half a cup of butter. It says at room temperature. I just melted mine in my microwave. And now we're going to put in 1/2 cup of lightly packed brown sugar. Here goes 1/2 cup of packed brown sugar. We're going to start this blender on just stir, which is setting 1. And we're going to just cream the butter with the sugar. I turn the setting to high to really mix it up, the brown sugar and the butter. So now it's pretty blended and creamed. And now we're going to add 2 eggs. We're doing it right here in the bowl. Make it super easy. We'll keep mixing it. So I'm back over here with my KitchenAid bowl back on my scale. And now I'm going to add some more ingredients. I'm going to zero out my scale. We want to put in The sourdough starter, discard 125 grams or 3/4 cup stirred down. So you stir your sourdough starter. And so the sourdough starter that I just made, the discard I just had here, I'm just going to stir it. It's still very bubbly. Okay, I need 125 grams. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start pouring this in here while I'm watching my scale. I'm at 19, I'm at 20, I'm at 45, I'm at 67, 77, okay, 80. So now I need to move on to my other sourdough starter that I store in my refrigerator. So here it is. And I need to get to 125. So I'm just going to start pouring it in slowly. I'm at 122, 24, and 125 right there. So I'm done. And as you can see, I have still a whole bunch more. I'm just going to pour this out in my compost. I have too much discard I do not need. So we've got our 125 grams of sourdough discard in here. Next, 42 grams of honey. I'm just using Kirkland's. Again, I'm just looking at my scale while I drizzle this into the bowl. This makes it so easy to make this because I'm only dirtying one bowl right now. So I want 42 grams or 2 tablespoons if you don't like to use a scale. Okay, I just hit 43. Okay, so I'm done adding the honey. Now we're going to move on to putting the vanilla and a little bit of olive oil in. So we're going to put in 4 grams of vanilla. I just use this. Or 1 teaspoon. 4 grams. I just like the measurements. It makes it so much easier. I'm at 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams, 5 grams. I go a little bit over. It's okay. Now the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of extra virgin olive oil. I am not a fan of adding olive oil to my baked foods. I have made olive oil cake before. I couldn't even eat it. Every time I add olive oil to my baked goods, I just taste that flavor and I just can't stand it. I've already put the butter in. I'm not adding olive oil. That's your option. You can add it, or like me, don't add it. It also says zest of 1 lemon, optional. I don't happen to have any zest or lemon, so I'm not going to do that either. So here's the Palermo squash. They're great squash. I love them. I'm going to grow them every year. It's the first squash that I can actually harvest, and then it continues to harvest 2 and 3 every week for all the way into, we're at the end of September and we're still getting it. They're still going strong. So for zone 9B, this is a great squash to grow. It's called a Palermo. From obviously Palermo is a city in Italy. So I'm going to go ahead. I have this brand new grater, which I'm going to try, and I think it's going to be awesome. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. And we want 300 grams of this. 300 grams. Now we want to take our zucchini and we want to, this is cool. See how my new grater has this little dish and it grates right into here. That's cool. So anyway, you see how much moisture the zucchini holds? So most recipes will tell you to wring out the zucchini. Now this recipe doesn't even mention that. It just says add, it's actually a banana bread recipe, and it calls for 4 ripe and mashed bananas or 365 grams of bananas. But then it says you can add 300 grams of zucchini instead. And he doesn't talk about wringing it out. I am going to wring it out because most recipes will tell you to do that. That's a lot of moisture. So here's my method for wringing out. I get my towel and I just go ahead and I fold up the zucchini like this. And then I just take both sides and I wring it, just like I'm wringing out a wet shirt. I wring it, and so I don't know if you can see this, but as you squeeze it and you wring it, can you see that? You can certainly hear it as it's hitting the sink. But all this liquid is coming out of this. It takes some hand strength, but you just keep working it. like that. Squeeze the zucchini. It's just filled with moisture. So you want the zucchini, but you don't want all the liquid. So you keep squeezing. And once you think you've gotten out a lot of the moisture, you can go ahead and add it to your baked goods. There we go. Okay. So we're adding 300 grams of zucchini. So let's see. I'm putting in one handful. This is, so one zucchini is what I shredded. I'm at 136, 184, 223. Ooh, I gotta really try to get this out of here. I have two more zucchinis, but I don't want to just do one, like half of one. I want to do a whole one. So I'm going to try really hard to get every little piece of zucchini in here. 250. 253. Here is the zucchini now that it's all wrung out. And so I will put the bowl back onto my scale. This came to 261, so I need to shred a little bit more. So I have this squash here. This is a calabaza, green calabaza squash. I'm going to go ahead and just shred a little tiny bit of this just to get 40 more grams. It took about a half of this one, or maybe a third of this one. So I actually used 1 1/3 zucchinis to get my 300 grams. The zucchini is all in here, and I'm just going to quickly mix it up, and then we're going to add the dry ingredients. So I just do this, and it just saves making a mess. And I just stick my bowl back on, and now we can just keep mixing. Add 240 grams or 2 cups of all-purpose white flour, spelt, whole wheat, or einkorn, or a mix of these type of flours. Add 3 grams or half a teaspoon of baking soda. Add 3 grams or half a teaspoon of fine sea salt. We're back at the mixer again, and this is where it gets a little messy when you add the flour if you don't have one of these covers to put over it to keep the flour from coming out all over. So I'm locking this. I'm just going to put it on stir to mix it up a little bit. The last thing we're going to add is chocolate chips, and the recipe that I'm using, the Baker's Sourdough Discard Banana Bread recipe, it's his online recipe, and he gives instructions for swapping out the bananas for zucchini. But I have his cookbook, The Perfect Loaf, which I highly recommend, and it has a different banana bread recipe with instructions for turning it into zucchini, and he suggests adding 55 grams of chocolate chips. So even though this recipe doesn't have that, it has the option of adding chopped walnuts or pecans. I'm going to go ahead and swap to the other recipe and put in the 55 grams of chocolate chips. So here I go. Now, if you're not I'm at 13. If you're not a big sweet person and you don't like chocolate or chocolate chips, then go ahead and you can leave them out, or you can put in the nuts. So again, you could put in pecans, walnuts, probably any type of nuts. He has you mix them with a little bit of sugar and then sprinkle them on top. It makes a lovely crumbly top on the banana bread. It's delicious. But with this zucchini bread, I think the chocolate chips will be a nice addition. So I've got my 56 grams of chocolate chips. I'm going to go back and mix it one more time. So here it is. This looks great. And I'm going to go ahead and pour it into my copper pan. Let's see if you can see it. Let me move this over here. So here, I think you can see better now. So I'm just scooping this in all the way in here. This will now go into my 350-degree oven for 55 to 65 minutes. Or we can check the internal temperature, and when it's 200 to 205 Fahrenheit or 93 to 96 degrees Celsius, it's time to take it out. And we'll have it cool on the pan, cool in the pan for 10 minutes, and then we'll remove it to a wire rack to thoroughly cool. Now this recipe will stay moist for days. We can wrap it in beeswax or a kitchen towel or place it in a closed container to prevent moisture loss. So let's put it in the oven and let it cook. The bread is done. It actually cooked for 65 minutes and it's been sitting here for 10 minutes cooling off. So I'm going to go ahead. It needs to cool a lot more here, but I'm going to go ahead and slice a piece just so you can see the inside. It's a very soft, moist bread. So here is the bread. This is what it looks like when it's done. You can see the chocolate chips and the zucchini. It looks wonderful. The bread is done and it is delicious. Look at it up close. You can see just the chocolate and the zucchini. It's so soft and so moist. That's one reason why I like to cook and bake with the discard, because it adds so much moisture and flavor to your baked items. If you're looking for things to use, ways to use your extra vegetables that you grow in your garden, especially zucchini, because we get so many zucchinis from our zucchini plants. And we're always looking for things to do with the zucchini. So if you like zucchini bread, you might want to try this recipe. If you don't use sourdough or discard, try a different recipe. It's still, I'm sure there's so many zucchini bread recipes out there. You're bound to find one that's going to be delicious. This one though, if you do bake with sourdough and you have discard, try this one. It's just a wonderful recipe, easy to make. The way I showed you how in just one bowl, you can do the whole thing. It's just absolutely delicious and wonderful. And please comment if you try this recipe, how you like it. If you have any other recipes you recommend, please comment in my comment section on the video. I'd love to hear your ideas. Thanks for watching.